All right, welcome back. This is still Standpoint on TVC News. But first, let's also bring you the handing over ceremony of the service chiefs. This was held yesterday in the city of Abuja.
Ready for inspection, sir.
It's the final lap of the handing over ceremony at the Armed Forces Complex, Abuja. At the Defense Headquarters, Major General Christopher Musa takes over as the 18th Chief of Defense Staff. He urges the service chiefs and their subordinates to work together.
It's a duty call on all of us. This is a challenge to all of us, not me alone as a CDS, because I can't do it alone. Everybody has a role to play, including the citizenry. We must work together.
It's a similar ceremony at the Army Headquarters where Major General Taoreed Lagbaja takes over command as the 23rd Indigenous Chief of Army Staff. He notes the enormity of the task ahead of him, but calls for more commitment from the officers and men of the Army.
I promise that I shall discharge my responsibilities as the Chief of Army Staff with fairness, merit, and hard work shall be duly rewarded, while appropriate measures taken to bring back in line anyone that errs.
The focus shifts to the Naval Headquarters where Vice Admiral Awal Gambo hands over office to Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ogala.
I assure Mr. President that I will do my utmost to uphold the trust he has put on me.
In the coming days, the new chiefs will be promoted and decorated by the President. Fon ACN, TVC News, Abuja.
Of course, that is the handover ceremony of the new service chiefs as they take over the mantle of leadership to steer Nigerians in terms of security. Mr. Dixon Oksage, are you there with me?
Sure, please.
Yeah, so there's been a lot to talk about in terms of oil theft, most especially in the Niger Delta region. And some persons have said for this administration to really nip it in the bud, there must be a real fight in terms of curbing the oil theft in the Niger Delta region. Do you see these being achieved as these the new service chiefs take mantle of leadership?
Well, the issue of oil theft has been a global issue of discussion due to the fact that a former warlord was seen in the seat of power addressing the press conference and also alleging that the military authority, the Nigerian military, are responsible for most of the oil theft, 99% of the oil theft. For me, I think that wasn't necessary for him to say so in the seat of power. He could have said it anywhere else because he can't be abusing the Nigerian state rights, the Nigerian military rights in the seat of power. That is to my own opinion. Everybody has the freedom of speech. He should have just, say it in his home or whatever the case may be, not coming to the seat of power. Because that is also going to put us in a negative limelight as well. Because, we're talking about terrorism all this while Nigeria being on the global terrorism index. It's based on what the GTI gathers, the information they gathers. So right now, if the whole world is aware that Nigerian military are criminals, or the Nigerian military is a criminal setup, then it's going to be a negative one for our own image. And we must be very careful how we brand our image and reputation in front of the international community. Then he has said it all and is subject to investigation. Sometimes when someone complains whether the person is a criminal or not, that complaint is a subject of investigation. So the president should set up a board of inquiry to look into the allegation made by Asari Dokubo on why those who sworn an allegiance to protect the Nigerian state have come back to embezzle the Nigerian state as well. The board of inquiry should be looking at those involved, the actors that are involved. For me, I think I personally believe that there's an element of truth in that allegation, in the sense that we have checkposts in our waterways. The military are there. The Nigerian Navy are in our waterways, protecting our waterways from sea piracy and sea robbery. The Nigerian Army are also by the creek side and also by the riverine area, protecting Nigeria from external and internal aggression as well. So if we have the service, the military and the other security agents in such waterways and in our oil prone area, how come this criminal act is being carried out successfully without being detected? So that calls for a subject. That's a subject of investigation in the other part. And anyone caught after the conclusion of this investigation must be dealt with decisively, so that every soldier and every officer serving this great nation must know that we give them, we put the trust of the protection trust in their hands, so they are not expected to betray the Nigerian state. That I see as a betrayal, that I see as a treasonable offense, because this amount of oil you are smuggling and diverting illegally to other parts of the country, going to sell it very cheap, which I believe you are suffering and robbing Nigeria from its own economic development and economical growth. So I think that is a subject of investigation. Then secondly, the president should ensure that that environment should be camera-driven, because most times we fail to understand that for you to achieve security, you don't just achieve security based on security, military might or policing might or physical might. There are three measures in achieving security. The physical measures, which has to do with our soldiers, our officers and men deployed in our waterways. Then also technological measures as well. We need to start looking at technological measures. So most times in the advanced world, you hardly see soldiers by the creek side or by the waterways protecting. No, they are driven by the protection system is driven by CCTV. That is technological measure, whereby why you have the whole essence of CCTV is just for two reasons. One, to protect crime in progress. Crime in progress in the sense that if any officer or any soldier, is supporting the illegal bunkering in the Niger Delta, the camera will see what is happening. And from the command control center, they will be able to send dispatch to go to that very location or where that crime in progress is taking place. And if nobody is caught along the line, then you have to review the CCTV. That is post-mortem analysis after the occasion of crime. So these are the two factors, the two benefits of CCTV: curtailing crime in progress and after the occasion of crime, if that crime in progress was not curtailed. So I think the government should be looking at technological-driven approach in our waterways, in our oil-prone environments, so that people don't think they can just come, smuggle our oil and allow Nigerian people to continue to suffer. We can't have a nation that is blessed with natural resources, and we have a lot of Nigerians migrating from this country to other countries for greener pasture. This administration must put a stop to that, and everyone found liable must be dealt with decisively.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dixon. Mr. Olabode, Mr. Dixon talked about maybe it's not what Asari Dokubo said at the press conference, probably shouldn't have been said because of the image of the country. Some people, of course, might disagree with that opinion because they feel that probably the military and the people who are in terms of stealing the oil are working hand in hand. That's their opinion. But there's something that you also said, probably, I just need to correct you on that. I'm very sure you wanted to say terrorists disturbing farmers on their farmland, not Fulanis. I'm very sure that's what you want to say.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah,
okay.
So, okay, but going on, when the new IG, Kayode Egbetokun, of course, took over office, one of the things that he said was that, misconduct, corruption, and abuse of power would no longer be tolerated. But some Nigerians have also said that it was sending a warning, to some Nigerians. But some Nigerians have also said, if you are sending these warnings to the larger society, also send the warning to your men on the field who also abuse power on the field. What's your take on that? And how realistic, do you think that we can actually actualize this in the real sense of it?
I said before, the amount of rot on the ground is so huge, so pervasive, is everywhere, and it's a problem. And none of our wishes, dreams, and aspirations can work in isolation. We need to understand that, for example, let me quickly go to the issue of the oil theft and that kind of thing. Here we have a seriously porous arrangement that everything is just like open, and not ordinary person around the area can take a bucket or can even take a hammer and a chisel, put hole in the pipeline and all that kind of thing. I mean, when you look at how such a most important part of money making arrangements is coming from, they are properly fenced, they are properly, look at, they are computerized. You can see if a cockroach, if anything goes around to disturb anything. We don't have that. And again, most of our crime, most of what we discuss, most of what we are talking about in governance in Nigeria is all about symptoms. And I think the cause and causes of a problem, if they are not dealt with, the symptoms will already be there. A good example is this issue of policing. If you say, again, I'm sorry, I mean, we need to say this. These are part of our job as a public and whatever affair commentator. We need to say exactly as it is. Now, the police in Nigeria is sometimes it can be very, very distressful. It can be very, very disgracing. And a lot of things need to be done to address all these differences, where you find the police wearing slippers, where you find the police asking for peanuts as a bribe, all that kind of thing. You wouldn't dare to do that in America or in the UK or some other civilized country, because police is one of the most important agency, commission or whatever, that does more of the governance. So in our country, we still don't have that kind of culture. We leave the police just to fed sometimes for themselves by themselves. And this is not going to help or enhance good policing in Nigeria. Going back to the oil theft again, yes, that Adari and Dokubo was making his own press conference or whatever. It has its own merit. It has other disadvantage. Ordinarily, this is not his job. He should have not been allowed to do that kind of thing. If he has that kind of information, they are very, very sensitive information. That kind of information should have been shared or paired with the appropriate authorities, not him holding a gun and making that kind of announcement. If everybody were to be doing that, they're going to be more chaotic. And I'm sure that that kind of thing will not be allowed again. I can imagine that it's not going to happen again. So, but on a more larger situation, the structure of the country in virtually all aspects of life need to be revisited, need to be reconsidered, need to be redesigned. They need to be, put back into minimum basic level. And it is then when that is a basic level, that is then we can start thinking of getting results. And again, I say this is not praising President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That is so far so good. He's doing a great job. He's making efforts to see that at least he wants to reverse. He wants to make sure that those bad areas are now covered and they are fixed. And when they are properly fixed, then we can start getting a result. Again, the oil theft thing. It is because the level of porosity, why, how many people are manning that area instead of the military money and then reporting or being monitored. When you do that kind of thing, if you look at a place like Saudi Arabia, that sort of area is computerized. You can't do anything silly like what is obtainable in some African countries. So all these are the things that we need to do, and government needs to invest in this kind of a structure and put the system in place that makes it so difficult that on average, whether you carry armor tank or whatever, you cannot even access the point where those oil is coming out. So without doing that kind of thing, we might be wasting time and money, and expectation will always come to zero because we don't do what we have to do. And those are big issues. And I want to believe that this government is hearing what we are saying, is listening to the opinion of different format, different people, and they can put it into use. Again, let me summarize. The social security of the ordinary people is very, very important. It's key. It's very, very important. Without them, again, because government for the people, but you need to carry the people along. They also need to play a role of, oh, this is my thing, I want to protect it, and so on and so forth. Without having that kind of thing on the ground, it might make life a little bit more difficult.
Okay, Mr. Dixon, we're still going to stay on these oil thefts, and I'm going to quote something from the chairman, Federal Government Special Investigative Panel on Oil Thefts and Losses, Major General Barry Idiomo, recently called for the review of security architecture and the oil-rich Niger Delta region, and that there should be a restructure in that region of the security architecture in that particular place. How best can we do this, knowing fully well that that's where the source of the money is coming from to fund the Nigerian economy for now?
Well, the last speaker actually gave an example of Saudi Arabia. It's most likely impossible for you to penetrate the oil well and smuggle such oil wells to go and sell in other countries. That's a form of sabotage. Well, for me, if you want to ask a way forward in that very environment, I think the way forward is very, very, very simple. It's just for us to, make sure we give people responsibility to carry out the protection strategy. Who do we think have the capability to do that? First of all, we must understand and we must be very careful how we, play with private armies, or private owners of armed group that think they have the capability to protect the Nigerian state. We can see what's happening presently within the Wagner Group and the Russian forces. The Wagner Group, are private armies, and now there's a big problem going on there. So we have to be very careful each time we want to introduce private armies in protecting our waterways and our borderline. If we lose hope in our military, then we are planning to, lose the country called Nigeria. The reason why we are still in existence is because of the capability, efficiency of our military, holding our territories and ensure the enemy intent is decimated and they do not succeed in their enterprise. So basically what the present government needs to do, like I rightly said, is to, project security mitigation factors within that given environment and also carry out a penetration test. Penetration test in the sense that is it possible for someone to penetrate? And that is where access control comes to play. Before you get to that very environment or to the very place we have the oil wells or the crude or whatever name you call it, we need to have an effective monitoring system. Monitoring system is, and the people of the world must understand that, hey, there's a monitoring system. And I want to tell you truly that I appreciate what the last government did in the area of setting the crude, what's it called, the ship ablaze, People who come to steal from our waterways, who come to steal our national resources, the very means of their criminal intent must be brought down. And if we start carrying out intensive actions like this, nobody will want to lose the ship for the purpose of for smuggling. Nobody want to lose his property. So we must put that as a front burner. Whatever you see on site, destroy. And anything on site, there needs to be a red alert there. Hey, this very zone is a no-nonsense zone. Anyone seen here illegally might not survive it. When we have strict actions like that and also have an effective monitoring system, listen, one of the best methodology for you to succeed in this approach is to have an effective monitoring and evaluation system. Monitoring system that will tell you from the command control center, hey, there is a crime in progress. This is what you need to do. If it's essential for the government to send in attack helicopters, send in attack helicopters. It is for the government to send in attack troops, send in attack troops to go and fetch these people carrying out these ill activities, so that we'll be able to have a lot of resources and a lot of money. We can't be so blessed with natural resources and BS with crude oil, and majority of our people are still living in abject poverty. It's not done in any part of oil-rich nation.
Mr. Dixon,
we can't be rich in oil, and we are going through this. So
Mr. Dixon,
the government must ensure they carry out an effective protection strategy.
Okay, Mr. Dixon, you talked about effective monitoring because people have also said, over the years, there have been allegation upon allegation that the military are involved somehow in terrorism. There have been that allegation there. How do you effectively monitor a system where you have a system? The people who are supposed to monitor the system are also part of the system. How do you eradicate that?
Well, sometimes people think it's very difficult for you to do that, and that is where crime and punishment comes to play. Are you with me? Crime flourishes when there is no punishment. The only way for you to eradicate that, when you put people who are supposed to protect the system, stealing from the system, is to carry out an effective punishment mechanism. For example, if you say, hey, Dixon, go and protect this oil-rich environments, and I get there and I start diverting most of this crude oil, whatever the case may be, if I am caught, I should be dealt with decisively. That is what we call specific deterrence, which will send a general warning, general deterrence to the public. So if you are thinking that there's going to be a miracle somewhere, there's not going to be. The only thing we know and we understand is that the same people that are meant to protect this system still have the constitutional right to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria. So the mitigation factor now, which has to do with crime and punishment, if a Major General is caught in that action and is being dismissed and jailed. No any Major General will want to be dismissed, shamed, and jailed. So the problem why crime has been flourishing is because people tend to commit crime and go scot-free. What is our criminal justice system doing? The police, the court, the prison. Now I can tell you most people commit crime and they are praying to be charged to court. You charge them to court 2-3 years, as the matter is still in court. Maybe they went to prison, no reformation process. So we have a lot to do in this country in the administration of criminal justice system and also in the area of crime and punishment. Punishment is a beautiful thing. Punishment is very essential. So for us to succeed dealing with the military involved in this case, we need to get those that are involved arrested, get them dismissed, and get them jailed. That is going to send a general warning to anyone who think they can come and take crude oil under this administration without being punished.
Okay.
Definitely they will be punished, and the punishment must be severe. That is how crime is being mitigated.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dixon. Lastly, just to get Mr. Olabode's last word, 30 seconds. How critical is the appointment of the Minister of Defense and, of course, the Police Affairs Commission into this security architecture as Nigeria kickstart the security agenda under President Bola Tinubu?
Again, I look forward to seeing a robust cooperation and emboldened arrangements to make sure that all hands are on deck. Ordinarily, in most civilized clime, the Minister of Defense or the National Security Advisor do not need to have been to a military government college or whatever. If they are being there, it's a bonus. But the reality is, from example of one of the former security advisor in America, Condoleezza Rice, she's an academician, and she was a very effective, very well-informed security advisor. So now we have a double qualified national security advisor in the person of Olabode. Is going to do a good job. But what is important is that we need to realize that the chief of staff, the commander, and everything is a key person who knows what he's doing. His overall boss, and there are different layers where the chief of staff of the army, blah blah blah, all that kind of thing. They have a process and procedure before they even get to the president, and that's why the most important part in this defense arrangement is the national security advisor.
All right.
And I'm happy that we have somebody like Olabode. But quickly, before I go, this issue of our borders, our oils, whatever, need to be properly secured. In fact, where possible, nobody should be living around that place. That place should be catered to only that product we are exporting and so on and so on.
All right. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the two gentlemen, Olabode Oseni, public affairs analyst in the UK, and of course Dixon Osagie, a security expert and analyst. Thank you for joining us on the show. And that's our show for today on Standpoint. Join us next week as we bring you stories happening in the world of politics. I'm Ademola Lawrence. Join us this evening for a repeat of the program by 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. tomorrow. Bye for now.